The kids I babysit have a code word for danger, and they used it when their grandfather showed up. I'd been babysitting for the Martinez family for about 3 months when Claire sat me down on my second week and explained something that seemed a little odd at the time. She said her kids, Emma, who was 8, and Jake, who was 6, had a special code word for emergencies. If either of them said pineapple in a sentence, it meant they felt unsafe and needed help immediately. I wasn't supposed to react, obviously, or ask questions. Just get them out of the situation and call Claire right away. She made me practice what I'd do if I heard it. I asked why they needed something like that, and Claire got this look on her face, half embarrassed and half scared. She said her father-in-law had boundary issues and sometimes showed up unannounced. That he made the kids uncomfortable, but her husband didn't see it because that was his dad. She said she'd asked him to stop coming by when she wasn't home, but he didn't always listen. I told her I understood, even though I didn't really. It seemed like an overreaction. The kids were great. Emma loved drawing, and Jake was obsessed with dinosaurs. We'd fall into this comfortable routine where I'd pick them up from school, help with homework, make dinner, and play until their parents got home around 7. Emma would show me her latest sketches. Jake would make me quiz him on dinosaur names I couldn't pronounce. Normal kid stuff. I never had to use the code word, never even thought about it after that first conversation. Until last Tuesday. I was in the kitchen making the kids grilled cheese sandwiches when the doorbell rang. It was 4.3 inches the afternoon. Not a time when people usually stopped by. Through the window, I could see an older man on the porch, maybe in his late 60s, wearing khakis and a polo shirt. He looked completely normal. When I opened the door, he smiled and introduced himself as Robert, Emma, and Jake's grandpa. Said he was just in the neighborhood and thought he'd stop by to see his grandkids. The kids were in the living room and I called them over. The second Emma saw him, her whole body went stiff. Jake actually took a step backward. Robert walked right past me into the house without waiting to be invited. He ruffled Jake's hair in this overly familiar way that made Jake flinch. He asked Emma if she'd give her grandpa a big hug. She didn't move. Robert laughed and said she was getting shy in her old age. Then he walked into the living room and sat down on the couch like he owned the place. He told me I could go back to making dinner. That he'd visit with his grandkids for a bit. I looked at Emma and her face was pale. Jake had moved to stand behind his sister. Robert patted the couch cushion next to him and told Emma to come sit. She shook her head. Robert's smile didn't change, but his voice got firmer. He said, "Emma, come give your grandpa some attention. I'm not going to ask again." That's when Emma looked right at me and said, "Jake and I made pineapple drawings at school today." My stomach dropped. The code word. I tried to keep my voice normal when I said that was great and asked if they wanted to show me in their room upstairs. Robert stood up quickly and said they could show their drawings right here. There was no need for them to go anywhere. His tone had completely changed. Less friendly, more commanding. I said actually we needed to go check on something in Jake's room real quick. A project for school. Robert moved to block the stairs. He said the kids weren't going anywhere until they spent some proper time with their grandfather. That I was just the babysitter and needed to remember my place. Jake started crying. Emma grabbed her brother's hand and said again, louder this time, "We made pineapple pictures with pineapple colors." Robert's face went red. He said to stop with the pineapple nonsense and get over here right now. I pulled out my phone and Robert saw me. He asked what I thought I was doing. I said I was calling Claire like she asked me to. Robert's expression changed completely. The fake friendliness vanished. He said I had no right to call his son's wife, that this was family business and I was interfering. He took a step toward me, and that's when I saw what Emma had been seeing all along, and that's when things took a turn I never expected. I dialed 911 with shaking fingers, turning my body slightly away from Robert while keeping my eyes on him. Emma has pulled Jake behind the kitchen counter, both of them watching with wide, terrified eyes. 911, what's your emergency? The dispatcher's voice sounds impossibly calm. There's an intruder in the house, I say, trying to match her steadiness. I'm babysitting, and the children's grandfather has entered without permission and is refusing to leave. He's blocking us from moving freely in the house. Robert lunges toward me, his face contorted with rage. Hang up that phone right now. I step backward, putting the dining table between us. The address is 1427 Oakwood Drive. I tell the dispatcher, please hurry. Give me that phone, Robert shouts, circling the table to reach me. Sir, please stay where you are, I say, trying to sound authoritative despite my racing heart. The police are on their way. Robert freezes for a moment, calculating. I can almost see the thoughts running through his head, whether to escalate or retreat. He chooses the former. This is ridiculous. He snarls. I have every right to see my grandchildren. Miguel will hear about this. He takes another step toward the stairs, as if planning to grab the kids and leave before police arrive. I move quickly to position myself between Robert and the staircase. The children aren't going anywhere with you. Please sit down until the police arrive. His eyes narrow dangerously. You have no idea who you're dealing with, little girl. The dispatcher is still on the line, asking me questions about whether Robert is armed, whether the children are safe. I answer as calmly as I can while maintaining eye contact with Robert. Police are 3 minutes out, she tells me. Those 3 minutes feel like hours. Robert alternates between threatening me and trying to coax the children from their hiding spot. Emma remains stone-faced, holding her brother who's crying silently now, his face buried in her shoulder. When the police cruiser pulls up, lights flashing through the front windows, Robert's demeanor changes instantly. The anger disappears, replaced by a grandfatherly confusion that's so convincing I almost doubt myself for a moment. 2 officers enter after I unlock the door. One takes Robert aside while the other speaks to me. Can you explain what happened here? The officer asks. Her name tag reads, Morales. I explain everything, the code word system, how Robert forced his way in, his refusal to leave, how he tried to prevent us from moving freely in the house. Officer Morales nods, taking notes. And the children? Are they okay? I glance at Emma and Jake, still huddled behind the counter. They're scared. Their mother set up the code word system specifically because of him. He's not supposed to be here when she's not home. The other officer is speaking to Robert, who's gesturing animatedly, playing the role of confused grandfather perfectly. I was just visiting my grandkids. I overhear him saying, "This babysitter overreacted. My son would never keep me from seeing them." Officer Morales approaches the children carefully, crouching to their eye level. "Hi there, I'm Officer Morales. Can you tell me what happened today?" Emma straightens her shoulders, still holding Jake protectively. "Grandpa Robert isn't supposed to come when Mom isn't home. That's why we have the pineapple word." Jake nods vigorously. "He's scary," he whispers. "He hurts Dad sometimes." The officer's expression changes subtly at this revelation. She asks a few more gentle questions, and the kids' answers paint a clear picture of a man who terrifies them. When Claire arrives 15 minutes later, her face is ashen. She rushes through the door, scanning the room frantically until she spots her children. She falls to her knees, gathering them in her arms. I'm so sorry," she keeps repeating, rocking them gently. Robert has been handcuffed and placed in the police cruiser by this point, charged with criminal trespassing. The transformation from his grandfatherly act to barely contained rage when the cuffs went on was chilling to witness. As Claire comforts her children, Officer Morales pulls me aside. "You did exactly the right thing," she says quietly. "This isn't the first time we've had calls about Robert Martinez." Claire approaches us, her eyes red-rimmed but determined. "Thank you," she says to me, her voice breaking. "Thank you for protecting them." She turns to Officer Morales. "I want to file for a restraining order. Tonight. This can't happen again." Officer Morales nods. "We'll help with that. But Mrs. Martinez, we need to understand the full situation. Your son mentioned something concerning." Claire closes her eyes briefly. "Miguel, my husband, he doesn't like to talk about it. His father was violent throughout Miguel's childhood. He broke Miguel's arm when he was 12, fractured his ribs when he was 16. She takes a shuddering breath. Miguel still makes excuses for him. Says his father was under stress, that it wasn't that bad. And now Robert's behavior is affecting your children," Officer Morales states. Claire nods, wiping away tears. Miguel doesn't see it, or doesn't want to see it. Robert's never physically hurt the kids, but the way he talks to them, the way he tries to control them, they're terrified of him. I think about how quickly Emma recognized danger, how she protected her brother, how she used the code word not once but twice. These weren't the actions of children overreacting. These were children who knew exactly what they were dealing with. "What happens now?" I ask, looking between Claire and the officer. "Now," Claire says with newfound resolve, "we make sure Robert understands he's never allowed near my children again. And Miguel," she falters slightly. "Miguel needs to choose what matters more, his father's feelings or his children's safety." As the night settles around the Martinez house, I sit with Emma and Jake at the kitchen table. Claire is on the phone with Miguel in the other room, her voice rising and falling with emotion. The children are drawing not pineapples but a family portrait, just the four of them. Mom, Dad, Emma, and Jake. No grandfather in sight. The next morning is a blur of police statements and hushed phone calls. I'm sitting at the kitchen table with Claire, watching as she nervously twists her wedding ring while talking to a detective. Emma and Jake are upstairs in their rooms. Claire thought it best they stay home from school today. "Yes, this has happened before," Claire explains, her voice strained. "Robert has shown up unannounced at least 5 times in the past year. Once at their school, twice at our home, once at the park, and once at Emma's ballet recital." The detective, a woman named Reyes with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, takes detailed notes. "And what happened during these incidents?" Claire sighs. "He acts like it's normal, like he has every right to be there. When I confront him, he claims I'm being dramatic or that I'm trying to keep the children from him. He tells the kids that I'm the reason they don't see him more often." "Has he ever been physically threatening?" Detective Reyes asks. Claire hesitates, glancing at me before answering. "Not exactly. It's more psychological. He'll stand too close. He'll use this tone with Emma that makes her freeze up. He'll tell Jake that real boys don't cry when he gets upset." She takes a shaky breath. "But my husband Miguel grew up with much worse. Robert broke his arm when he was 10, pushed him down the stairs when he was 14. The detective's expression remains neutral, but I notice her pen pressing harder into the notepad. "And your husband's position on all this?" Before Claire can answer, the front door swings open. A man who must be Miguel Martinez strides in, his face a mask of barely contained anger. He's tall with the same dark eyes as Emma, dressed in a rumpled suit like he came straight from work. "Claire, what the hell is going on?" he demands. "I get a call that my father's been arrested for visiting his own grandchildren?" Claire stands up, her body tense. "Miguel, this is Detective Reyes. She's investigating what happened yesterday." Miguel barely glances at the detective. "There's nothing to investigate. This is a family misunderstanding that got blown way out of proportion." He turns to me, eyes narrowing. "And you?" "The babysitter. You called the police on my father?" I straighten in my chair. "Your children used their code word, Mr. Martinez. They were scared. Your father refused to leave and blocked us from moving freely in the house." "Code word?" Miguel looks genuinely confused. "What code word?" Claire steps between us. "Pineapple, the word we created so the kids could signal when they felt unsafe. The word we agreed on, Miguel, together." Miguel runs a hand through his hair. "That was for strangers, Claire, not for family, not for my father." "Especially for your father," Claire says, her voice rising slightly. "After what happened at the school last month." "Nothing happened," Miguel interrupts. "He wanted to surprise them after their concert. You're the one who made it into this huge thing." Detective Reyes clears her throat. "Mr. Martinez, your father was arrested for criminal trespassing. According to your wife, he's been told multiple times not to come to your home when she isn't present." Miguel's jaw tightens. "My father is 70 years old. He just wanted to see his grandchildren." "Your children were terrified," I interject, unable to stay silent. "Emma used the code word twice. Jake was crying. Your father blocked the stairs when I tried to take them to safety." Miguel turns to me, his expression darkening. "You don't know my family. You don't know my father. You've been here, what, 3 months? You have no right to judge this situation." "Miguel," Claire says sharply, "that's enough. She protected our children." "From what?" he demands. From their grandfather bringing them gifts? From him wanting to be part of their lives? The doorbell rings, interrupting the argument. Claire looks through the peephole and her face goes pale. It's Robert, she whispers. He's out already? Detective Reyes stands. I'll handle this. She opens the door to reveal Robert, looking much more composed than yesterday. He's wearing a different polo shirt and khakis, but the effect is the same. A harmless-looking older man with a pleasant smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes. Good morning, he says smoothly. I'm here to see my son. Mr. Martinez, Detective Reyes says, blocking his entry. You were instructed not to return to this residence. You're currently out on bail with conditions. Robert's smile doesn't waver. I'm here to see my son, not my grandchildren. That wasn't part of the conditions. Miguel pushes past the detective. Dad, what happened? Are you okay? Robert's expression shifts to one of wounded dignity. I'm fine, son. Just a misunderstanding. These people overreacted. His eyes find me standing in the hallway. Especially that one, calling the police on an old man visiting his family. Disgraceful. I feel a chill run down my spine at the cold calculation in his gaze. This is a man who knows exactly what he's doing. Claire steps forward. Robert, you need to leave, now. Claire, Miguel says warningly. That's enough. No, it's not enough. Claire's voice rises. I'm tired of this, Miguel. I'm tired of pretending everything is fine when our children are terrified of your father. They're not terrified, Miguel insists. They're confused because you keep telling them to be afraid. I didn't tell them anything, Claire says, tears forming in her eyes. They figured it out themselves. They created the code word system, Miguel. Emma came up with it after Robert grabbed her arm so hard it left bruises. Miguel shakes his head. That never happened. She fell off her bike. You're exaggerating again. I watch this family drama unfold, feeling increasingly uncomfortable, but unwilling to leave Claire alone in this situation. I catch movement on the stairs and see Emma sitting on the top step, listening to everything, her face expressionless in that way children adopt when they're trying to disappear. Detective Reyes notices too. Mr. Martinez, she says firmly to Robert, you need to leave now or I will arrest you again for violating the conditions of your bail. Robert's pleasant mask slips for just a moment, revealing something ugly underneath. Then he composes himself and pats Miguel's shoulder. It's all right, son, I'll go. We can talk later, when things are calmer. He glances up the stairs, spots Emma, and waves cheerfully. Bye, sweetheart. Grandpa will see you soon. Emma doesn't respond. She doesn't move. She doesn't even blink. After Robert leaves, escorted by Detective Reyes to ensure he actually gets in his car and drives away, the house falls into tense silence. Miguel and Claire stand on opposite sides of the living room, the distance between them seeming far greater than the physical space. I want her gone, Miguel says finally, pointing at me. She's fired. No, Claire says firmly. She stays. She's the only one who actually protected our children yesterday. Miguel's face hardens. This is my house too, Claire. And these are my children. She replies, her voice steady despite the tears on her cheeks. If you make me choose between their safety and your father's feelings, you won't like my choice. I glance back at the stairs. Emma is gone, but I know she heard everything. I think about her face when she said the code word, the absolute certainty that she needed help. I think about Jake hiding behind his sister, trusting her to protect him when the adults in his life wouldn't. And I know, without a doubt, that I'm not going anywhere. These kids need someone on their side, even if that someone is just the babysitter. I never expected to get a phone call during my morning psychology lecture. When my phone vibrates with Claire's number, I immediately step out of the classroom to answer. They're at the school, Claire says, her voice tight with panic. Robert showed up at Emma and Jake's elementary school. The principal just called me. My stomach drops. What happened? Are they okay? Emma used the code word with her teacher. The school's on lockdown. Miguel's in a meeting across town and isn't answering. I'm stuck in traffic. Can you get there, please? I'm leaving now, I say, already running toward the parking lot. The drive to Westfield Elementary takes 11 excruciating minutes. Police cruisers are already parked haphazardly near the entrance, their lights flashing silently. Parents are gathering outside, faces etched with worry as they clutch their phones, waiting for information. I push through the crowd toward the main entrance where an officer is controlling access. I'm the Martinez family babysitter, I explain breathlessly. Claire Martinez called me her father-in-law tried to take her children. The officer checks my ID against a list on his tablet. They're in the principal's office. I'll escort you. The hallways are eerily quiet. Classroom doors closed with lights visible underneath. Through some windows, I can see children sitting on the floor away from doors and windows, standard lockdown procedure. My heart aches thinking of all these kids practicing for this moment, never expecting it would actually happen. When we reach the principal's office, I find Emma sitting rigidly in a chair, her face pale but composed. Jake is curled in the lap of a school counselor, his dinosaur backpack clutched to his chest. Principal Gonzalez is speaking quietly with Detective Reyes, who I recognize from yesterday. Emma spots me first. You came, she says, her voice small but steady. I kneel in front of her. Of course I came. Are you okay? She nods once, then whispers. I said pineapple 3 times before Miss Wilson understood. You did exactly right, I tell her, fighting to keep my voice calm. Can you tell me what happened? Emma glances at Jake before answering. Grandpa Robert came during recess. He told the playground monitor he was here to pick us up for a dentist appointment. She was new and didn't know. Emma's fingers twist the hem of her shirt. He had a paper that looked like a note. Jake saw him first and ran to me. Jake lifts his head. I knew it was bad, he says. Like yesterday. What did you do then? I ask gently. I told Jake to stay with our friends and I went to Miss Wilson. Emma's voice takes on a rehearsed quality, like she's recounting a fire drill procedure. I said I needed to tell her something about the pineapple project. She didn't understand at first. Then I said it was an emergency pineapple situation, and she remembered what Mom told all our teachers at the beginning of the year. Principal Gonzalez steps closer. Miss Wilson immediately alerted the office. By the time Mr. Martinez reached the playground, we were already initiating lockdown procedures. Where is he now? I ask, trying to keep my voice level despite the anger building inside me. In custody, Detective Reyes answers. He became physically aggressive with our school security officer when he was prevented from approaching the children. That's assault on top of the trespassing in violation of his bail conditions. The door opens and Claire rushes in, her face streaked with tears. Emma! Jake! She drops to her knees, gathering both children into her arms. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I remembered the code word. Mom, Emma says, her composure finally cracking as she burrows into her mother's embrace. You were so brave, Claire whispers. Both of you were so brave. The door opens again, and Miguel Martinez appears, his face ashen. He looks from his family to Detective Reyes, then to me, before his eyes settle on his children. What happened? He asks, his voice hollow. They said my father tried to take them from school. Before anyone can answer, there's a commotion in the hallway. Raised voices. The sound of a scuffle. The door bursts open, and Robert appears, somehow having broken away from the officers escorting him. His face is contorted with rage, all pretense of the kindly grandfather gone. Miguel, he shouts, tell these people who I am. Tell them I have every right to see my grandchildren. Two officers appear behind him, grabbing his arms, but Robert's eyes are fixed on Emma and Jake, who shrink back against their mother. This is ridiculous, Robert spits. They're my blood, mine. Miguel stands frozen, staring at his father with dawning horror. For perhaps the first time, he's seeing what his children see, not the father he's made excuses for all his life, but a dangerous man consumed by the need to control. Dad, Miguel says quietly, stop. Robert's expression shifts, a calculating look replacing the rage. Son, you know this is all a misunderstanding. Your wife has poisoned everyone against me, against us. Miguel takes a step toward his father, then another. The room holds its breath. I saw the security footage, Miguel says, his voice breaking, from yesterday at our house, and today, the school cameras caught everything. Robert's face twists again. Those cameras don't show the truth. They don't show how these people have turned my own grandchildren against me. You tried to take my children, Miguel says, his voice gaining strength. You violated a court order to stay away. You scared them so badly they needed a code word to protect themselves. They don't need protection from me, Robert shouts, struggling against the officer's grip. Yes, they do. Miguel's voice is quiet but firm. I needed protection from you too. I just didn't have anyone to give it to me. The admission hangs in the air. Jake begins to cry softly, and Emma reaches for his hand, their fingers intertwining in a gesture that speaks volumes about how often they've comforted each other. Robert's face goes blank, then cold. You ungrateful. He lunges forward suddenly, breaking one arm free, reaching toward Miguel with a raised hand. The movement is so swift that everyone freezes for a split second, everyone except Miguel, who flinches backward in a deeply ingrained response. It's the instinctive reaction of someone who has been hit before, many times. The officers regain control quickly, wrestling Robert back. That's enough, one says firmly. You've just added another assault charge. As they drag Robert from the room, he shouts over his shoulder, This isn't over, Miguel. You can't keep my grandchildren from me. I'm their blood. The door closes behind them, and silence falls. Miguel stands motionless, his shoulders hunched as if expecting another blow. Then, slowly, he turns to face his family. Claire and the children watch him warily, as if unsure which version of Miguel they're going to get, the husband and father who defends them, or the son who makes excuses for his abuser. I'm sorry, Miguel says finally, his voice cracking. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to believe he could hurt you the way he hurt me. He kneels down in front of Emma and Jake, keeping a careful distance as if aware they might not welcome his touch right now. Your code word was smart, he tells them. I'm sorry I didn't listen when your mom told me about it. I'm sorry I didn't protect you. Emma studies her father's face. Is Grandpa Robert going to come back again? Miguel shakes his head firmly. No, never. I promise. But he's your dad, Jake says, confusion evident in his small voice. Yes, Miguel acknowledges. But being someone's dad doesn't give you the right to scare them or hurt them. I didn't understand that before. I do now. As the family begins to tentatively reconnect, I step back, giving them space. Detective Reyes approaches me. You got here quickly, she observes. I nod. Claire called me when she couldn't reach Miguel. I was closer to the school. You've become quite involved with this family, she says, not unkindly. I watch as Claire puts an arm around Miguel's shoulders, as Emma cautiously takes her father's hand, as Jake begins to relax his death grip on his dinosaur backpack. They needed someone on their side, I say simply. Detective Reyes nods. Robert Martinez will remain in custody this time. No bail. The judge won't look kindly on him violating the restraining order and attempting to remove children from school under false pretenses, not to mention assaulting school security. What happens now? I ask. Now, she says, this family starts healing, and you, it seems, are part of that process, whether you plan to be or not. I think about the code word pineapple and how something so simple became a lifeline for two children who didn't know if the adults in their world would believe them. I think about Emma's composure in crisis, about Jake's trust in his sister, about the courage it took for Miguel to finally see his father clearly. And I know that whatever happens next, I'm staying right here, ready to help however I can. The courthouse is smaller than I expected, with wood-paneled walls and uncomfortable benches that creak when you shift your weight. I sit in the back row next to Claire, who hasn't stopped fidgeting with her wedding ring since we arrived. Miguel sits on her other side, his posture rigid, eyes fixed on the empty judge's bench. It's been 2 weeks since the school incident. 2 weeks of therapy appointments for Emma and Jake, of hushed conversations between Claire and Miguel that stop when I enter the room, of nightmares that leave Jake crawling into his sister's bed at 3 a.m. Thank you for coming today, Claire whispers, reaching for my hand. The kids wanted you here. I squeeze her fingers gently. I wouldn't be anywhere else. The courtroom door opens, and Emma and Jake enter with a social worker named Melissa, who's been working with them since everything happened. Jake clutches his favorite Triceratops figure, the one he carries everywhere now, like a talisman. Emma has her sketchbook tucked under her arm. She's been drawing obsessively since the school lockdown, page after page of houses with locked doors and windows. When Jake spots me, his face brightens. "You came!" He breaks away from Melissa and runs over, climbing onto the bench beside me. "Of course I came, buddy," I say, making room for him. "I told you I would." Emma follows more cautiously, sitting next to her brother. She opens her sketchbook and shows me her latest drawing, a family portrait with her, Jake, Claire, and Miguel standing in front of their house. I notice a figure in the corner that looks like me, holding what appears to be a shield. "That's you protecting us," she explains matter-of-factly. "Like at school." Before I can respond, another door opens and Robert is led in by court officers. He's wearing an orange jumpsuit instead of his usual polo and khakis, but his posture remains proud, almost defiant. His eyes scan the room until they find Miguel, and something in his expression shifts, a calculated softening, a practiced look of paternal concern. Jake presses against my side, his small body trembling. Emma closes her sketchbook and sits up straighter, her face becoming the expressionless mask I've seen too many times now. "It's okay," I whisper to them both. "He can't come near you." The judge enters, a stern-looking woman with silver-streaked hair and reading glasses perched on her nose. The proceedings begin with formal introductions and statements from the prosecutor about Robert's violations of the restraining order and the school incident. Then the court-appointed psychiatrist who evaluated Robert takes the stand. Dr. Levine is a middle-aged man with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. His testimony drops like a stone into still water. Mr. Martinez shows clear signs of frontotemporal dementia, specifically the behavioral variant. He explains, this form of dementia affects the frontal lobes of the brain, which control judgment, impulse control, and social behavior. Miguel's breath catches audibly. Claire reaches for his hand. However, Dr. Levine continues, the dementia is not the sole cause of Mr. Martinez's behavior. His medical records show a long history of controlling and abusive tendencies dating back decades. The dementia has simply removed the inhibitions that previously allowed him to mask these behaviors in public settings. The prosecutor stands. In your professional opinion, Dr. Levine, does Mr. Martinez's condition make him less dangerous to his family? On the contrary, Dr. Levine says firmly. It makes him more dangerous. He has less ability to control his impulses, combined with the paranoia and obsessive behaviors that are part of his condition. His fixation on his grandchildren has become pathological. I glance at Miguel, whose face has gone pale. This isn't just confirmation that his father is dangerous, it's medical validation of a lifetime of abuse that Miguel has tried to minimize or deny. When it's Robert's attorney's turn to speak, he argues for leniency based on the dementia diagnosis, suggesting that Robert needs medical care, not incarceration. The judge listens impassively, then asks if the family wishes to make a statement. To everyone's surprise, Miguel stands. Your Honor, he begins, his voice steady despite his trembling hands. I've spent my entire life making excuses for my father's behavior. When I was 10, he broke my arm for spilling paint in the garage. I told the doctors I fell out of a tree. When I was 16, he fractured 3 of my ribs because I came home late. I said it happened during a soccer game. Robert makes a dismissive noise, but the judge silences him with a look. I believed it was my fault, Miguel continues, that if I was better, smarter, more careful, he wouldn't get angry. I carried that belief into adulthood, into my marriage, into my relationship with my own children. He takes a shuddering breath. I nearly lost everything that matters because I couldn't see what my father really was. Emma and Jake watch their father with wide eyes. This is the first time they've heard him speak so openly about his childhood. My children created a code word pineapple because they knew they needed protection from their grandfather, even when I refused to see it. Miguel's voice breaks. They shouldn't have had to do that. No child should have to create safety systems, because the adults in their lives won't protect them. The courtroom is silent when Miguel finishes. The judge studies him for a long moment, then turns her attention to Robert. Mr. Martinez? She says, her voice cool and precise. This court finds that you present a clear danger to your family. Your medical condition explains but does not excuse your actions. She adjusts her glasses. You will be remanded to a secure medical facility where you will receive treatment for your condition while serving a sentence of 18 months for your violations of the restraining order, trespassing, and assault charges. Robert stands suddenly, his face contorted with rage. This is absurd. Miguel, are you going to let them do this to your father after everything I've done for you? The court officers move quickly to restrain him, but not before he shouts, "Those are my grandchildren, mine." Jake bursts into tears at the outburst. Emma wraps her arms around her brother protectively, whispering something in his ear that calms him slightly. I realize she's telling him their code word, reminding him that they're safe now. As Robert is led away, still shouting, Miguel turns to his family. The transformation in his face is remarkable, the weight of decades of denial lifting, replaced by a fierce determination I've never seen in him before. After the hearing, we gather in the courthouse lobby. Jake has stopped crying but hasn't let go of his dinosaur or his sister's hand. Emma looks exhausted but somehow lighter, as if a shadow has been lifted. What happens now? I ask Claire as we watch Miguel kneel down to talk quietly with his children. Therapy, she says with a small smile. Lots of therapy. For all of us. She touches my arm, including you if you want. You've been through this with us. I hadn't considered how deeply involved I'd become with this family's trauma. What started as a babysitting job has become something much more significant. We're also working on new code words, Claire continues. Emma's idea. Different words for different situations. Like what? I ask. Dinosaur means someone's at the door we don't know. Jake pipes up, suddenly animated. And butterfly means I feel scared but I'm not in danger. Emma nods. Rainbow means we need to talk about something important but it's not an emergency. She looks at her father. And sunshine means everything is okay. Miguel's eyes fill with tears. That's perfect, he says softly. On the drive home, Jake falls asleep in his booster seat, clutching his triceratops. Emma stares out the window, her sketchbook open on her lap to a new drawing, a sun breaking through clouds, with 4 figures standing beneath it holding hands. I think about how quickly life can change. 3 months ago, I was just a college student looking for a part-time job. Now I'm part of this family's healing journey, witness to both their darkest moments and their steps toward recovery. As we pull into the Martinez driveway, Emma turns to me. Are you still going to be our babysitter, even though Grandpa Robert is gone? Of course, I tell her, if that's what you want. She nods solemnly. We need you. You know all our code words. It's such a simple statement, but it carries the weight of absolute trust. These children, who have learned too young that adults can't always be counted on, have decided I'm someone they can rely on. Pineapple, Jake murmurs sleepily from the back seat, using the word that once meant danger as a term of affection. Sunshine, Emma responds, reaching back to take her brother's hand. And for the first time since this all began, I truly believe things will be okay.